Welcome to the Business Results Program. This is how you can transform yourself, your team, and your whole company. My name is Pete Winarski. I'm the CEO of Win Enterprises, LLC, and this video is us recording a podcast episode. Podcast Business Results Radio. Look up businessresultsradio.com or go check it out on iTunes or one of the other podcast platforms. And do subscribe and do give a 5-star review. Now, you as a business leader, we get what you're going through. You've got overwhelm and stress and frustration. You have high expectations on your shoulders, some of which you put there yourselves. Why can I say this? Because we, our team, we've experienced this ourselves. We have been business leaders. We know what it's like. And boy, how cool is it that you have this resource. You can listen to this podcast, gain some insights about what you can do differently, gain some ideas, some strategies that you can put in place right away to make your life easier. That's what we're after here. We want your life to be easier because being a business leader does not have to be this challenging, doesn't have to be this hard. And we want you to exceed your expectations, excel, and achieve the results you want, get your team to thrive, and your company to just absolutely go right through the roof. And you can do that here. Enjoy this episode. All right. Hey everyone, Pete Winarski here today. This is Business Results Radio, and let me switch the view because I've got Katrina Shaw with me today. That should be, here we are. Love it. So Katrina, you are sitting somewhere in Calgary, Canada.
Yep.
Sitting here in Connecticut, USA, just outside my window, which I point as if you guys can see it, but you can't. But it's what we're doing, as you guys know, if you're following us on Business Results Radio, sometimes we're doing content just us, just our team, and other times we'll interview a guest who's outside of our team. And today, Katrina is one of our executive mentors, and we're going to talk some leadership and sort of inner game mindset type things today. Sound fun, Katrina?
Sounds awesome.
What could be more fun?
This is the stuff I love.
Yes, absolutely right. Katrina, you obviously, you dig in to a lot of conversations like this. And the one that we're going to tee up today, isn't it interesting how you work with clients, you've got executive mentoring clients, you're on the phone or on Zoom, and then you break away and you go hang out with some friends and topics still come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day. Yeah. It's interesting. I was with my friend Al last night, just grabbing a quick few minutes after work, and we were chatting baseball. And of course, the conversations interweave in terms of, hey, here are some issues, here are some challenges, right? And it's kind of what we do as human beings. We just share our stuff.
Yeah, and I think I've had some of my most, enriching conversations probably sitting at a table with a beer in my hand and,
yeah.
Casual, unplanned, just people being real about their stuff.
Right. And sometimes that's when the most golden nuggets of advice, actually, you find them coming out of your mouth. And, of course, you don't have a film crew like the TV show The Office chasing people around and recording everything they do and say. So those golden nuggets, of course, whatever the advice was in the moment, as valuable as it was, nobody heard it. So we have to go and recreate a scene. But let's just talk about some of the things that have come up recently. So the idea of energy and sales and what we put out to the world. This is one any business leader has. Sales and revenue is part of what's on their mind, and it could be a big company or it could be solopreneurs, small businesses. Obviously, getting revenue in the door is going to start moving that cash machine and getting the money to lubricate everything else. And now you got funds to go pay your people, and you got funds to invest, and et cetera. So let's talk about, how to actually grow and get in the right mindset versus the wrong mindset. So maybe let's just start there. What is the right mindset versus what is the wrong mindset?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not even sure there's a right and wrong. I don't like the duality of that. I think the deeper question is really to get honest and to get vulnerable with yourself, to recognize what it is that I am putting out there, and to paint an example. One of the ones that maybe I see the most come up is maybe like a desperate or sort of intense energy around, like, I need to make this deal happen. Like, I got to go in there. I have to close. I have to, get the sale, whatever it is. And while you're trying to like pump yourself up, you're trying to get yourself in a place of like, I'm just going to get this done. It can actually do the opposite. And it can have the opposite effect if your energy is just so desperate. Because on the receiving end, people may not be able to say, oh yeah, that guy came across as desperate, or that woman seemed intense. They might not have the words for it, but they can feel something is off, right? They can feel that I can't put my finger on it maybe, but I didn't get a good vibe from this person, or I didn't trust this person. And so then things can fall through quickly, right? So that's just one example of where I think really looking at what is the energy that I'm putting out there, despite what I'm sort of intellectually or rationally convincing myself I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Totally. And in fact, I think back to times where, I've had conversations with someone, and I wasn't in a mode of, I've got to turn this person into a client, right? Like, I'm rarely in that mode. It's more of a, hey, how can I help you? Tell me more about your issue, and let that conversation meander. And, there's a certain level of self-confidence that I have just of being present in the moment, and then let the conversation just move where it needs to go. And ultimately, if there's a trust-built connection, that evolves, if it's right for them, the question may come up and say, hey, how can you help me further?
Yeah.
And then honestly, sometimes, there are those moments where you are asked to come to a meeting or hop on a phone or meet for a coffee or lunch or whatever. And, that they're asking for help. And so, that they're actually asking from the perspective of, hey, I know you do these things. I need help. I'm thinking of hiring you, and still coming in, without the, oh goody, let's hurry up and sign a contract, or, oh goody, let's jump into, this service or that service. I have an example in mind right now. There was a friend of mine, and, he had, a situation, and, we've got a couple things that will help with his situation, whether it's executive mentoring, whether it's diving in and doing some team effectiveness type workshops, whether it's using the inventory tool that we use, Insights Discovery. It could be some other leadership training or intervention type things. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 different options. And if I go in there thinking I'm going to go, quote unquote, sell option B, because that's the one that I think they're going to probably need the most, then I'm missing all of the dynamics of the conversation, right? It's more of, tell me what's up and listen. And, in the end, the conversation can wrap up with, I have an idea. Would you be willing to hear it?
Yeah.
Totally different feel than I've got to hurry up and sell you option B.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think, it's a challenging task to get to a place of, confidence or trust, or whatever word people want to attach to it. Right. And this can be for people going to an interview. This can be people who need to have a tough conversation with upper management, or like this can happen sort of in any situation, any circumstance. And I think often we don't know, or we're not paying attention to what is the vibe I'm actually putting out there. And I'll give a quick shout out to this book I recently read called The Soul of Money. And basically the premise is all about your energy around money, right? And whether you read the book or you don't read the book, I think there's a lot of value in the idea behind energy. And if you're like always thinking about, I don't have enough money and I got to figure out how to make enough money, and the energy around that is a place of lack. Like, I don't have enough. And so you're not attracting abundance. And I know this is a little bit, this can be a little sort of metaphysical for people, but if you can shift to a place of, I'm going to trust that the right opportunities are going to come to me, or, that I do have enough, or I can make it work, or I've always found ways to find my way out of problems, like finding some sort of grounding mechanism or belief or something where the energy behind it is a little more trusting, in that things do work out and good things do happen, right?
Yeah. It's a really healthy perspective at the minimum, right? Just never mind that there's other potential positive downstream effects, at least getting yourself in a more confident, more relaxed mindset, just grounded in sort of the knowingness that it's going to work out, it's going to come, is at least going to help you control some of your stress levels. What's interesting, I actually a little more than a year ago, had an opportunity here locally to go through, I think it was like an 8-week class on mindfulness. And, kind of 2 hours every Wednesday night for 8 weeks. And I think there was an all-day Saturday, day long thrown in there. And what was really interesting about that is there's a self-rating that we did at the front end and the back end related to things like how stressed out we're feeling, and how much anxiety, and to the extent that you can self-rate those sorts of things. But how are you feeling right now on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10? Are you stressed? And there were a number of questions around there. And what was interesting is the dynamics in my life were basically constant. What I mean from that is, the level of business revenue was about the same. The level of, just activity at home in the family side was about the same. Things that I had going on in the community, over the 8 weeks, those stress factors, if you will, were basically unchanged. So relatively constant over that 2-month time frame. And the level of stress that I had on the front end versus afterwards dropped tremendously. And it was simply from following, some of the basic mindfulness practices. And this is, it was actually mindfulness-based stress reduction, MSBR, try that again. For those of you who don't know your alphabet, mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. John Kabat-Zinn wasn't the teacher, but he was behind those methods that he was teaching at the University of Massachusetts Med Center. And the person who taught the class was certified under him and under that program. And so, these are, there's tons of study that John Kabat-Zinn has done and gone through to demonstrate how these breathing techniques, meditation, mindfulness-based meditation techniques, simple being aware in this moment of what's going on in your body. It's the sort of thing where, oh my goodness, I am short of breath, right? I mean, we don't always pick those up. And what I found, I was able to take some of those and translate them into day-to-day situations, which bringing us full circle back to, well, hey, what sort of energy am I projecting? That's connecting up, how to make sure you're you're grounded in the first place.
Well, yeah, and I think, there's a lot of times I hear, well, I've tried to meditate and I don't know how to do it, or I can't do it, which is, totally valid. And for some people, it's not a fit. They don't want to do that. And so when we started this conversation by talking about mindset and energy. I mean, in the business world, in the corporate world, I think mindset is a big thing, especially for anybody trying to take their business to the next level. I mean, a huge part of your success is mindset. And so, to sort of address how do we sort of marry the two of like getting, mindset and mindfulness and meditation. I think it's about how you sort of integrate principles into your everyday life. And so for some people, it's not going to work to sit in meditation every morning and breathe for 20 minutes, right? I know I fully recognize people, they're busy, they have a lot to get done, and their commitment to that is not there. So, but I don't think we can throw mindfulness or meditation out the window entirely. I do think there's a big part of being aware of what is happening for ourselves, what's happening, around us, what is happening for other people. And so awareness, I think, is key, and even starting to pay attention to like minor things, right? And you said, when stress is there and there's deadlines and there's pressure, we're like, it's like a balloon just waiting to pop. And those are the times where, finding tools and strategies, which maybe we discuss in another sort of episode, is to release that pressure so that the balloon isn't going to pop, and then you're actually more effective to go out and do what you want to do. The only thing is that our natural reaction is to fix it, which just like, it's like, I gotta find a solution, and the pressure builds and builds and builds and builds, instead of getting ourselves back to a place where we're more equipped to make decisions, be effective, lead people that we need, that we need to support us in getting what we need to get done. And then, our execution is probably much more effective. So anyways, I think there is definitely, some validation in that meditation, people really struggle with it. And it's maybe not for everybody, but even starting a day or two at 1 minute, learning to breathe or paying attention to breathing, and then, 2 minutes, and then 2 minutes, and then 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes, right? Like, I think slowly, if you can set aside 2 minutes in your day, you would notice a difference. And that's how I started, and it, changed my whole world.
Yeah. So let's think about a metaphor here, or analogy of sports, right? So let's say it's a basketball game, and, like our hectic lives, you got people running up and down the court, right? You're zigging and zagging, and you're playing defense, and the shot goes up, and there's a rebound. And now you're running down the other end, and you're on offense. Then you're on defense, back and forth. And, you're running all over the place, just taking a timeout, calling for timeout, going to the sidelines, regrouping, talking about what's going to happen next. Let's talk about what we want to happen next. And then the ref blows the whistle, the ball goes back in play, and you start again. But you had that timeout that's a refresher. I think that's all we're really looking for here. So, if you, like you said, you don't have to go for 20 minutes. You don't have to go do these long programs. But as you're running around crazy, whether you're the CEO, you've got your own business, you're the boss man, you're out there trying to sell, you've got, a sales responsibility with a sales quota, whatever the case might be, just find a moment in between and take a short break, take a break, breathe for a second, write down some notes, whatever's on your mind. I mean, all of these little techniques. Throw out, Katrina, some other ideas of what people can do in just a couple minutes here and there to help them get back, change, shift their energy, change, there's a lot of things you can do without 20 minutes of meditation, right? So
yeah, for sure. So I just want to add a little comment to that. We, as human beings, we typically want things to work out, and we want things to go our way. And a lot of us try to control the outcome, right? And I think there's a huge part in building resilience to things just not going as we expected or hoped, or embracing quote unquote failure or something like that, right? And the reason for that is that when we can sort of flow with, stuff happens, and it's not always going to be perfect, but it gives me opportunities to grow, gives me opportunities to challenge, gives me opportunities to see things from a different perspective, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then we start to build a resilience to being able to bounce back from things that are not going well at the time, or when we're in a complete hole, let's say, or whatever it is. And I think that's key too to just well-being and success and all, everything, because things will not go as you hope or plan all the time, and there will be failure. And so again, I think part of it is learning to accept that sometimes, and it's simple in day-to-day life. Like, you get a flat tire, you're late for a meeting that you absolutely needed to go to, and it's like, I had no way of controlling that I was going to get a flat tire. Laugh it off. I'm sure there's a way for me to remediate missing a meeting, right? Like, it's as simple as finding some space instead of like, oh my God, I have a flat tire and everything's chaotic. And we tend to build chaos around us when we can just, it's fine. I'll figure it out when I have to figure it out, kind of thing. So anyways, back to your question about, what are things that you can do? Going for a quick walk. I think sometimes getting out of the office or getting out of the space that you're in that's overwhelming, or where you can't focus. This applies to students too. If you're studying for hours and you're just not absorbing anything, go for a walk, change your scenery, take some breaths, get a snack, just shift the energy, right? In some way, shift the place that you're in. A big part of it too is, you can use strategies like setting time limits on, the things that you need to get done, so that, not to add more pressure, but so that you keep yourself on track. Like, okay, I have to send emails for half an hour of the day, and then I need to go on and focus on other things, because emails could drain you for a whole day, kind of thing.
Or to even make a game of it, right? So let's see if I can. My wife likes to do this with cleaning up after dinner sometimes. She'll go and she'll set a timer for 10 minutes and says, I'm going to see if I can get this mess cleared in 10 minutes. And it's not for a stress creator. It's fun. It's a game. It's a challenge. And, I think there's some level of we as humans responding to a challenge, provided we're lined up and say, okay, I agree. Doesn't always work if we want the kids to clean up after dinner. Getting them, you got 10 minutes to do this, buddy, get it done. Doesn't quite work out that way, but yeah, making timers and fun and challenges and things.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to just spit out a bunch of ideas. I think I do believe that people thrive in their own ways, and they have to find, again, this is where awareness of what you're experiencing, what your challenges are, what your strengths are, it gives you insight into, what strategies work best for me, and what, when are the times I feel the best, and when are the times I feel most stressed out. And so I really don't like that prescriptive, do this, do that. I think we have to learn to get to know ourselves better, get to know ourselves, at our absolute worst and our absolute best. And then when we can bring our best selves forward on most days, we're attracting good stuff. We're bringing good into our lives. And so, I do. And then that can go into all kinds of places. For some people, that's like, I have to go for a run every morning. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's like have a bath every night and turn my cell phone off. And there is a lot of talk about self-care now, which is again a whole other sort of topic. But these things all integrate into, how am I starting my day? What is my mindset for the day? What is the energy I'm putting out there when I go and do things? Which makes me think of another thing actually is how are people perceiving you? And not that we need to impress other people, but if people perceive me as like, let's say I have a lot of walls up and I'm guarded and like, people they're not gonna trust me. They're not gonna want to work with me. They're gonna feel something's off. And so again, it's just another example of all these elements of how do I sort of bring the best of myself forward? How do I learn to bounce back from disappointment and failure? How do I get myself in the zone to most effectively work through, problems and issues? And so these are multi-layered. And I think probably, just aware of the time, we'd love some feedback from listeners and audience, and we can go deeper into, potentially one or several of these elements to really flush it out and help people get a deeper understanding of what this means and what it might look like.
Yeah, let me pile on to your invitation there. So let's I'm going to put up this offer to just have you send us a note to podcast@completebusinesstransformation.com. So that's our domain, completebusinesstransformation.com. So use the email address podcast@, and you can throw out your suggestions or your questions or whatever. And especially if you have a question that you want us to address here in one of the podcast episodes, we can have you send your question in, and then we'll respond. We'll just sort of pick some. So it's sort of an ask us anything you want opportunity. So I love that. So we're talking about energy and what you're putting forth. Sometimes you are putting a sense of desperation, and or walls are up, and therefore you're kind of pushing people away. Let's talk about what are some of those. What's the energy that you might want to put forward that ends up attracting people into your circle and wanting to work with you, wanting to partner up? Doesn't always have to be a sales conversation. That was just an example that we used at the beginning. But to create followership, you leaders out there, just because you have the boss as part of your title doesn't mean that the people who work for you are excited to work for you, right? So what are some of those things, Katrina, that you want to be putting out?
I'm gonna keep this simple. I think at the core, if in any sort of working relationship or romantic relationship, even, I think trustworthiness is at the core of strong relationships. And so I think going back to the brief example of like, if I'm going to meet anyone, date, business relationship, trying to get a sale, interview, anything, and I walk in and people are perceiving me as like extremely guarded, I have an edge, and maybe it's just my own insecurity, right? Like, I think it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm trying to be like aggressive or I'm trying to put, negative vibes out there or anything like that. It could just be that I'm insecure and my own sort of shell is leading people to perceive what's going on with this person, right? And so when we can ask ourselves, what are the people I feel most trusting of? And it's people who are, they're warm, they have empathy for you, they listen, they're attentive to what's going on, they they're not just trying to fluff you up and tell you what you want to hear, and they're not trying to be overly charming. They're humble. Like, those are the people that you're like, I feel good around this person. I feel safe with this person, even though maybe I can't communicate why. I just feel good in this person's presence. And so I think really it's like, if we're coming up, what I would encourage people to ask themselves is, if you're constantly coming up against some resistance or something not working out repeatedly, or you feel like you're putting so much energy and effort into your own success and your own driving forward with anything, right? And if you're not getting results in any way, then probably you have to look at, okay, what is it that I'm actually putting out there energetically? And there's lots of talk now about this, even in weight loss, right? People who are so focused on, I need to lose weight, and I can only eat this, and I can only eat this. Again, your energy is all about, there's a problem, as opposed to, I feel good and I am moving towards a body that I want, and I'm moving towards health, and I feel like every step is a move in the right direction, which is a very different energy than like, oh my God, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I have to do this, right? So
Yeah.
again, this plays into all aspects of our lives, and it's so important. So ask yourselves, where am I finding resistance? And maybe there's there's a signal there that something's got to shift for you.
And I love that perspective of simply, what are the results you're getting and how does that compare to what you want? And if they don't equal, then something's up. And it could be your energy. It could be that there's a deeper belief or deeper issue that needs to come out and get addressed. A lot of times when we do belief work, that's a very similar question. If your results don't equal what you really want, that's a sign or a signal that something's off. So let's take a look there. And I love the weight loss. Everybody has a weight. And I remember, perspective of just about everyone on the planet is unhappy with their current weight. It's like, I weigh too much or too little, but it's never just right. So, if you're all about losing, nobody wants to, you don't want to lose your keys. You're my keys, right? Nobody wants to lose their keys. Like, where are my keys? Where'd they go? Nobody wants to lose weight. What they really want is to have the ideal body or their ideal weight. So it's like getting towards something you're building or working towards, as opposed to something that you're trying to get rid of, right? It's a minor wording shift, Katrina, but you're right on the mark with just changing your perspective slightly. And then it's no longer you're in a punishment and you're not allowed to eat the following foods. It's more of, I'm making some choices and I'm feeling good about those choices.
Yeah. And, I want to say too, that this stuff is hard. This stuff is not easy. And one of the things is, like, I definitely don't want to be ever preachy. So the things that I talk about are things that I experiment with every day of my life. My own goals of wanting my body and health to be at a certain level, and my own goals of taking my business to the next level, and all of my own things, my desire for deep love, everything in my life, I play with, the principles that I talk about, and the things that, I have to ask myself, like, how am I getting in my own way, and how can I shift what I'm doing? What am I putting out there when I'm in a bad mood? Like, I'm always sort of shifting, playing with, and then I monitor results. Like, when I'm in a good energetic space and I believe and trust that things are good people are out there and there's support and all this stuff, good things come my way. And then I'm like, okay, tick, that was a success. And keep that ball rolling and see what's happening, right? So I use my own sort of anecdotal evidence to support what I'm talking about, as opposed to just talking about these things in theory and that they're all wonderful and nice, but they don't actually work, right? So there definitely is a piece to, I practice what I preach, and it's not easy. And there are challenges, and there's stuff that we have to face sometimes that is really hard. So I definitely don't want to take away that or make it sound so simple, because as sort of simple as it is extremely challenging to really get ourselves to a thriving place and to feel resilient to all of the stuff that life can throw at us that, is just totally overwhelming.
Yeah. And it is that perspective of life is a set of experiments, and you do one and you see what works and you do it again. And so I just want to thank and honor you for pointing that out. And a lot of these concepts are simple, but you're right, they're not easy to put in place because of a whole long list of issues that maybe we'll talk about on the next episode.
Yeah.
Why don't we wrap up today this way? So just, some of the high points, we're talking about energy and just helping you build your awareness about what you put out. And sometimes we're accidentally putting out this a sense of negative energy or a wall or stress or desperation, versus, a sense of trustworthiness and warmth and, building an attractiveness, an attraction where people want to work with you and be part of who you are and what you're all about. How's that for a wrap?
Sounds.
All right. So we'll catch everyone. Yeah, catch everyone on another episode. This is really cool. We will be back.
And as we mentioned earlier, we'd love comments. We'd love feedback, questions, and hopefully we can give you guys more of what you're looking for and what you want.
Perfect. Podcast at completebusinesstransformation.com. All right, everyone. Catch you on the next episode. Take care. Hey, Pete here again. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. And I invite you to come back to this video channel or go to the podcast channel for Business Results Radio. Check it out, subscribe, give a 5-star review, and go ahead and share it with your friends. Until then, we'll see you again.